Hello, I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy, and welcome to another edition of Seafood Source TV, the bi-weekly video blog where we bring you news, information, and insights from the world of the seafood industry. Right now, the U.S. Department of Commerce is working on its final decision regarding the petition from the Louisiana-based Coalition of Gulf Shrimp Industries to raise duties on imported shrimp from 7 countries: China, Ecuador, India, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. According to the coalition, those countries are pumping government subsidies into their shrimp industries, and this allows them to slash prices on shrimp imports to the U.S. The coalition is calling that an unfair advantage that stacks the deck against domestic shrimp companies. Now, the Commerce Department, if it agrees, has the right to raise duties called countervailing duties to level the playing field. And just a few weeks ago, it decided to do just that, issuing a preliminary ruling on the petition. In it, the department decided it planned to raise the duties for most of the countries involved, with Malaysia taking the biggest hit, about 62%, which is the highest rate ever set by the department. Ecuador and Indonesia, however, seem to have escaped without a scratch. Why? Well, to help us answer that question and to talk a little bit more about the issue here is Warren Connelly. He's a partner in the Akin Gump law firm based in Washington, D.C. And Warren's firm has been representing Ecuador's shrimp processors in ongoing negotiations with the Commerce Department. Warren, thanks for joining us here on Seafood Source TV, joining us via Skype today.
My pleasure, Sean.
Let's get right into the questions. First of all, why was Ecuador spared? It seems that Ecuador didn't really have to have any kind of duties raised at all in comparison to Malaysia. Why is that?
Well, it's a very simple explanation, I think, which we have tried to make to the petitioners, and obviously, again, when that failed, made to the Commerce Department. Simply, the government of Ecuador really does not provide subsidies to its shrimp industry. The shrimp industry is not an industry that the government of Ecuador believes needs any help. This is a point that we have made repeatedly, and we were pleased in the preliminary determination to see that the Commerce Department agreed with us.
Well, it should be noted for the record that the Commerce Department has not made its decision final yet. This was just a preliminary decision. How confident are you? It sounds like you are pretty confident that Ecuador is still going to come out of this without any raises in their duties.
Well, we just spent 2 weeks in Ecuador with the Commerce Department while they verified the books and records of both the 2 Ecuadorian processors whose questionnaire responses they received, as well as going to 6 separate Ecuadorian government agencies to verify the information that they submitted. And based on how those verification proceedings went, I am very confident that the margins won't go up. If anything, they should go down.
Well, you actually spoke to my colleague James Wright in our sister publication, Seafood Business Magazine, in the March issue about this same issue, about this same topic. And you were mentioning at the time that even if Ecuador did have to face higher duties, and even if these other countries are facing higher duties, that in the long run, the ultimate effect that is hoped to be seen here, the leveling of the playing field, that it's really not going to matter very much in the long run. Why do you think that is?
Well, I've been working with the shrimp industry, both importers and exporters, since about 2002 and 2003, when the original anti-dumping case was filed against 6 countries. Since that time, we followed the developments in the shrimp industry here in the United States very closely. And what we see is that imports from various countries rise and fall individually, but in the aggregate, they remain just about the same. The only thing that really seems to have influenced prices over the past decade to any significant extent is man-made disasters and natural disasters, hurricanes and Gulf oil spills. We haven't seen anti-dumping duties and now countervailing duties have much of an impact at all. Now, I know some people may disagree with this, and I know there are predictions out there that prices are going to increase, but I don't believe we've seen that yet. and I am still a skeptic on that.
Well, you mentioned natural disasters and people who might disagree with you. Actually, I was going to mention that Hurricane Katrina in 2005 and the Deepwater Horizon spill in 2010. Surely there's no question that these events had some sort of impact on the domestic shrimp industry. And Carson Kimbrough, who is the president of Carson Company, it's a shrimp processor in Bon Secour, Alabama, was talking earlier this year at an International Trade Commission public conference on, I believe, the current petition that's before the department. And Kimbrough was talking about how some countries, maybe not Ecuador, they didn't mention anybody specific, but how some countries may have actually been using the subsidies to kind of take advantage of a domestic industry that was already kind of on its heels. Kimbrough said, quote, "This underselling has been getting worse since the oil spill in 2010. Foreign producers have used aggressive price undercutting to keep hold of the increased market share they seized while the domestic shrimp industry was closed." Now, if in fact there is any truth to that anywhere, what is so wrong with wanting to seek out some sort of fair play here?
Well, I just have to disagree with Mr. Kimbrough's premise. I was at that hearing, and I couldn't disagree with him more, and said so at the time, and will say so again if we get to a final ITC hearing in August. We believe the data shows that prices of domestic shrimp are a function of domestic landings, not a function of imports. In other words, when domestic landings go down, prices go up, and when domestic landings go up, prices go down. The reason for that is that competition between domestic wild-caught shrimp and imported farm shrimp is limited. We call that attenuated competition. That is the term that the International Trade Commission uses. It is attenuated in many ways. It is attenuated in terms of volume, in terms of type of product, in terms of availability, in terms of seasonality, in terms of customer preferences. All of these things make a head-to-head competition between wild-caught domestic shrimp and imported farm shrimp a very limited thing.
Okay. Well, if in fact, then, last question here, if in fact the Gulf shrimp industries there are wasting their time or shouldn't be putting so much effort into seeking out countervailing duties, what course of action should they be taking to help protect the industry, which arguably is struggling right now?
Well, we have actually tried to offer a number of constructive solutions over the past decade to the domestic industry. I would be the last person to claim to be an expert on what it is that the domestic industry itself should do. But the domestic industry has hired its own experts, and they have made numerous recommendations, documented in reports from very reputable academic institutions and seafood industry professionals that talk about the need to improve the handling of the products on board, to improve the handling of the products in the plant, to improve the marketing of the products, and to emphasize that wild-caught shrimp is in fact different from farm shrimp. I mean, people who import shrimp will tell you that farm shrimp and wild-caught can be distinguished, and in fact should be distinguished. And I think that is the problem overall that the domestic industry has faced. In other words, they really fail to make their product something that consumers want. They've really, unfortunately, let it become a commodity.
Okay. Warren Connelly, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That's Warren Connelly. He is a partner in the Akin Gump law firm in Washington, D.C., which has been representing the nation of Ecuador and also the Ecuadorian shrimp processors in the ongoing discussions with the U.S. Department of Commerce. Keep watching SeafoodSource.com for more stories about this issue to see how it all does shake out. And that's it for this edition of Seafood Source TV, so make sure you check back here in 2 weeks for another edition with more news and information and insights into the world of the seafood industry. For now, I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you online.